On the phone, it's a pleasure to welcome back to this program from a Rolling Stone magazine. He was live blogging, folks. It was last Friday. Let's welcome to the program Matt Taibbi. Welcome to the program, Matt.
What's going on, Sam?
Well, same old, buddy. It turns out now. Let's just take a step back here because it's amazing. I mean. I don't know. I don't know what's more amazing that we're seeing these hearings now. What 4 or 5 years, 6 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Later than probably they should have been held. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
maybe decades later than they should have been held. But this on Friday, the Senate Banking Subcommittee held a hearing where they invited executives of J.P. Morgan to come up and explain to them how it is they suffered billions of dollars of losses on these trades that theoretically should not have happened, or they should not have been able to, I guess, suffer
Hide
such
it.
losses,
Yeah.
hide it, and to allow it to continue. Right now, so let's just back up. Just tell us, we've talked about this on this program in the past, obviously many times before, but put into context who J.P. Morgan and Jamie Dimon are in the context of this argument of too big to fail banks. Because as far as I can tell, I mean, I watched that movie, Too Big to Fail. Jamie Dimon,
Mm-hmm.
he was the one cool cucumber who really did everything right, as far as I can tell, right?
Yeah, that's sort of the urban legend about J.P. Morgan Chase is that they're the quote unquote good bank,
Mm-hmm.
and all these other banks that have bad reputations, Goldman, commercial banks like Bank of America that everybody hates. Well, those companies are screw ups. If you do it right, you can be like J.P. Morgan Chase and it's not a problem, and they're a safe, sound institution that makes a lot of money for America. Blah blah blah. Anyway, that's the legend. The reason we're having hearings about this stuff is, and this is a big question that people don't understand. Why are we having hearings about the fact that a private bank lost a ton of money last year? Like, we shouldn't care, right? Theoretically. But we do because J.P. Morgan Chase is a commercial bank, which means that it's a federally insured depository institution, so that if it goes under, the FDIC is going to have to bail out the bank, or as we found out in 2008, it'd be the whole government plus the Fed and a whole lot of other people would be bailing out the bank. So we have to care about it when they suddenly start acting like high-risk investment banks and lose tons of money and do it without the regulators having any clue what happened. And that's what happened last year. At the beginning of last year, this guy in London, he had basically this hedge fund hidden inside of J.P. Morgan Chase, and just sort of overnight it started losing billions of dollars, and nobody knew about it until the news hit the newspapers, and that's what these hearings were about.
And part of the myth around Jamie Dimon and the myth about there being a good bank that is this big is that the implications are that it's not a systemic problem in the sense that too big to fail banks are problematic, but just that it's we have some bad actors, like in any system. There are bad actors and there are good actors, and that doesn't
Right.
implicate the system. But so that's why it seems to me has been so why it's been so crucial to maintain this myth of a good bank, because it supposedly says we don't really need any massive reforms. We don't really need to pull these banks apart in any way because it can be done properly. And it's quite clear that that's just a fantasy.
And you can't forget that the government itself endorsed this idea during the crisis, because when companies like Bear Stearns and Merrill Lynch and Washington Mutual, when they all, started circling the drain, what did we do? Instead of taking those companies over, selling them off, breaking them up into smaller banks, which is what rationally you probably would want to do, is to make the companies less dangerous. They just took these companies and they stuffed them into even bigger companies. So Bear Stearns gets pushed into J.P. Morgan Chase. Washington Mutual gets thrown into Wells Fargo. So the government itself bought this idea that it's not the size of the banks that's inherently the problem. It's that some of these companies are more screwed up and irresponsible than others. So we can fix the problem by putting bad banks into good banks. And it turns out that that's not the case. The size is inherently a problem.
And we should add that the one of the best examples of that notion that the size of the banks is problematic is that our Attorney General came out the other day and reiterated what we have heard now on several occasions, that you really can't hold these people to account for law breaking because they're too big. And
Right.
if we put any of these guys in jail, then we're going to wreck the economy. So
Right.
it's sort of the classic facts on the ground type of situation. We're going to make them even bigger, and then now they're there. There's nothing we can do about it.
Right. Yeah. No. It's kind of an amazing combination of moves, right? Like first, let's create a bank that's gigantic, like Chase, by taking Bear Stearns and selling it to Chase at some absurdly low price. If you remember, the government actually slashed the price of Bear Stearns to $2 a share, so that Chase could acquire it. And it's when it was last trading, it was at $30 a share or something. So they give these banks enormous public support and bailouts and discounts so that they can acquire these other companies. And then they turn around and they say, like a couple of years later, oh, we can't prosecute these guys because they're too big. So you have to look at the combination of moves and see how crazy it is.
And so you started your live blogging out with just a reminder that that Chase has paid $8 billion in settlements in just the past, well, I guess three and a half years. They've spent $16 billion in legal defense fees during that same period. I mean, it really is amazing. I mean, I used the analogy before you came on that it may not be fair to say that they're wholly a criminal enterprise. But I don't know what is. I mean, even when people go to rob a bank, presumably they pay attention to the speed limit on their way there.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so, they're driving with a car that has both taillights, so they're not fully a criminal enterprise. But it's shocking. So let's walk through this because over the course, I mean, your assessment of the hearing, in my estimation, was that you were pretty impressed with the job that the senators did, and you see this hearing as pretty important at this point.
What I'm getting is that there's been this kind of change of heart in Washington, because I just keep hearing that different staffers working for different congressmen and different senators are coming around on this issue of too big to fail. There are both Republican and Democratic senators who are starting to kind of creep over across to the other side, away from the banks and onto the side of, Jesus, we got to do something about this. And it's just they're continually applying pressure, and by taking on Chase head on, and Chase is supposed to be the good bank, and Chase is Obama's quote unquote favorite banker. that it was a significant thing that Carl Levin did. It's one thing to go after, some rogue company, but they went after the most reputable of the too big to fail banks, and they basically did an autopsy, a living autopsy of how the accounting at these companies works, and they showed everybody that there are zero internal controls at these companies, and that we have absolutely no idea what's going on, and that just exposed everybody to the danger that we're in. And I think even it's going to become both a conservative and a liberal issue, because neither, the liberal view of it is going to be, we don't want to have to support these evil corporations, but the conservative view is, why should my tax dollars go to support this kind of activity? They should be sinking or swimming in the market. So I just think it's significant in the sense that there are more people moving over to that side.
Before we go and break down these hearings, what do you think accounts for that? I mean, what is it? I mean, what accounts for that? Because it seems to me that this information has been more or less out there, and from my perspective, I mean, what do you think accounts for it? I mean, do you think it's simply because we're now outside of, in some ways, we're outside of a lot of the accounting that could have taken place within the statute of limitations for all the mortgage fraud? Do you think it's things like
that might be part of it? Yeah,
that documentary, The Untouchables, in some level, seem to have
the frontline thing.
Yes,
but I think it's a bunch of things. Number one, I think Wall Street made a big mistake when they abandoned the Democrats in this election season, because what they traditionally do is smart. They just throw tons of money at both sides, and they don't really make a directional bet on politics. I mean, they usually bet according to the Las Vegas odds. In other words, if Obama's a 7-3, bet to win over John McCain, they're going to give Obama $7 and McCain $3. That's the way they've always operated. There's nothing to do with politics. It's just purely, we think this guy's going to win and that guy isn't. This time around, they didn't do that. Even though Obama was the heavy favorite, they really supported Romney in this election, and so a lot of Democrats were scratching their heads afterwards and saying, well, Jesus, we have been carrying water for these guys for years, and we've been helping them, and we watered down the Dodd-Frank Act, and we've done all this, we bailed them out, and then they cut and ran on us in the election season, so what are we doing? There's that. And then I think a major thing is that the people who work in the Fed and in the regulatory system are increasingly screaming bloody murder about all this stuff. I mean, there are. It's not just the Dallas Fed anymore. There was a New York Federal Reserve Bank official who gave a pretty big speech in the fall about how too big to fail is unsustainable. And they asked all these companies to make up what they call living wills. In other words, a plan for what happens if your company goes out of business. And the Fed determined that these wills were a complete fiction, that they didn't do a good job. And so everybody's worried. I think it just has to do with a general fear that these guys learned nothing after 2008. They're continuing to support themselves with massive amounts of free government money, and when they blow up, we're going to have to go in and pay for all of this again, and we don't have the money to do it. So it's just as simple as that. I think people are just worried.